happy Sunday. For those of you in the United States, tomorrow is Labor Day, and so I do hope you get to enjoy a long weekend and some time off work. It's nice to have some breaks, some holidays from the busyness of life, because life can get quite crazy. It just seems like it's moving at an exponential pace. And so why don't we take a moment here and just have everyone close their eyes. And I invite you all just to take some deep breaths, to breathe, to feel. And simply to experience life. Or can you give yourself full permission just to arrive here, right now? Give yourself the gift of just putting everything down. Letting the thoughts, fall away. The to-do list fall away. Any arguments in the mind or emotions, just allow them just to settle. And can you be here now? Can you feel your feet connected to the floor, to the earth? Your bottom, connected to your seat, your spine straight. And we're just arriving here. And I invite each and every one of you just to notice this gentle flow of grace, flow of aliveness, just through your central channel. So that's the 7 chakras. Just feeling this flow of aliveness, of divinity. You may even feel this flow of aliveness from below your feet. Up the legs, through the chakras, through the crown chakra, and all the way to the top of the head and even beyond. And so I invite you just to be nobody in this moment. And by that I mean just to let go of the personality self. If you're a mother, father, sister, brother, a good worker bee, or not so much of a good worker bee, whatever the egoic identity is, just to let it all go. And just experience yourself directly. Right here, right now. In the most basic way. Can you notice that there is something good here? Something innocent, pure, something radiant, which is awake and aware, luminous. I'm just inviting you to reconnect with yourself and to experience yourself directly. Not to think about what you are. Not to try to create some spiritual state of consciousness, but simply to wake up right now. To this experience of gentle innocence, gentle aliveness, Experience both your luminosity, the spaciousness, the vastness, the eternalness of your nature, of your nature. And as we just spend a couple minutes here just going inward, you may notice that something's coming alive. True nature is coming online. And so smile, receive the goodness, the innocence, the beauty of what you are. Too often in life, we're thinking about what's wrong, what's not right. So in this moment, I invite you to join me in seeing and experiencing your beauty, quiet presence of divinity. For most of us, this is a breath of fresh air. All the running around that we do. Even on a weekend, most of us busy ourselves. And so I encourage you to arrive here. Just to experience what you are, to fall in love with what you are. To be what you are. Pre-thought. Pre-emotion. Pre-personality. And by that I mean, can you be? Can you experience? Can you wake up to your unconditional nature? Unconditional nature. So you can just take a couple more deep, full breaths, relaxing the body. Inwardly smiling. And just letting go. Letting go fully and completely. Simply arriving here. Here. I am that I am. I am awake. I am. I'm awake right here and right now. Just noticing. There's something here that is awake to the sound of my voice, that is awake to the movement, the thoughts within your consciousness. Something here that is awake to the sensations as they arise and fall away. In the space of consciousness. And I invite you all simply to acknowledge this. There is something here right now which is awake, which is aware. Can you smile at the realization of your true nature, your true nature? And so, if you want to gently open your eyes, you're welcome to. If you want to stay with your eyes closed, of course, that's welcome as well. The only thing that I ask is that you stay with your direct experience. Stay with your direct experience. Can you feel into the quiet presence of your heart? and simply listen. Listen. Be here fully present from this space as I move forward into the questions and tonight's topics. So welcome everybody. Just a big thank you to everyone who's offered donations this week to support the Sangha and this broadcast. Thank you so much, truly. One of the things I wanted to speak about tonight before I get into the questions was I went camping this weekend with the family, and also we actually went camping with another family and just had a great old time. A friend of mine, he has 4 children, and it's just beautiful because he's a great father, and the mom's a great mother, and his kids and my little one just had a good old time just running around in the mountains and the streams, and kicking dirt and looking at the clouds and the big the big expanse of sky here in Colorado. And we did something funny, because a lot of times when I go camping, I try to incorporate some adventure where, go climb a mountain or go mountain biking or ride a paddle, hop on a paddle board or whatever it is. But this time we just sat like in one place. Literally, didn't drive anywhere, didn't really bike anywhere. We just got out some chairs and just sat, by the campfire, and sat by under the big blue sky and under these towering mountains. And we were talking a bunch, and they were, speaking to me about their upbringing, and they brought up a topic that has come up a lot, and it's come up a lot recently. And I just wanted to speak about spiritual trauma, just for a short little bit this evening. And what I mean by that is there's many people on the path who are on the path a little bit begrudgingly, if that's the right way to say that term, begrudgingly. They have, some angst or anger towards a church, toward a teacher, toward a teaching, sometimes all three. We can be upset, and we can have trauma with a teacher, or priest, or pastor, a spiritual leader of some sort. We can have trauma with the teaching, or with a community, a Sangha. And I've just been hearing and speaking about this so often lately, I thought I'd bring it up, and just that it's common, and the common mistake that we make when we have trauma in relationship to something good. And by that I mean the Dharma tends to be good. By that I mean the teachings. At their core, most spiritual teachings are very good. Very good. At their core, most spiritual teachings are good. At their core, I would say most spiritual teachers are good. At least they start off with a good intention. Most priests are good people. Some of them have gotten confused. Some of them don't know how to work with their desire. Some of them are given rules that they simply cannot live by, because the power of their human biology is just too strong. Whether that's a priest or spiritual teacher or whoever, healer. It's a common thing on the path. Some teachings are good at their core, but then they are somewhat distorted. And in their distortion, they cause pain. And so, many of us have left, quote unquote, the church or the Sangha, the community, the teacher, left the Dharma, because we've experienced some type of intense confusion within a spiritual community, with a relationship with a teacher. Maybe a teacher made a romantic advance toward us. Maybe they knew that we had just received an inheritance and then they asked us for a grand donation to their cause, or whatever it was. Or maybe just we caught the teacher not telling the truth. And these things happen. Teachers are humans. They're humans. they have shadows, they have egos. And of course, if you work with a teacher who's more on the psychologically healthy, who's more psychologically healthy, they're going to have less of a shadow. If the teacher has just given themselves to the teachings of spirituality, but who haven't done any psychological work, or they work in a tradition where psychology and spirituality has not been blended and integrated, we can very easily become a fundamentalist teacher with a big fat shadow and cause harm to our students, to our community. And sometimes it's not the teacher. Sometimes the teacher is pure and offers a great teaching, great message, but there can be a groupthink within the Sangha, and the groupthink can be led by some unhealthy dynamics. Sometimes there's people, I laugh a little because it's so funny, but I've seen spiritual communities where some of the senior students are like sparring for power. They're trying to, they see the teacher's getting old and, she's going to be gone soon and they want to take over. And so they do a little bit of a power dance or assert themselves. And, again, these are human things, egoic dances that happen. And so when students do that, when the community has infighting, or when the community has a bunch of rules which are like unnecessary or really strict or fundamentalist, or they can become cult-like, things can get weird. Things can get weird. And so when we have spiritual trauma, it's important that you work with this trauma, that you're honest about it. You're honest about it, and you have a heart-to-heart conversation with yourself. It may be important to have a heart-to-heart conversation with yourself and with a therapist who's trained in these types of things, or a counselor, or support. Sometimes it means teaching, speaking to the teacher and saying, hey, why did you act that way? Or, hey, this is what's happening in the community and it's not helpful. Or, hey, there's something within the teaching that I don't understand. And so I like to, just speak first and see if it can be resolved just through, meeting with the source of the problem, or, just through some open, honest dialogue. A lot of things can be resolved in that kind of situation. But if the teacher is unable to meet you, if the teaching is too fundamentalist, or too strict, or too tight, or too skewed, that it doesn't make any sense, then of course there won't be healing. If the Sangha is unwilling to be psychologically healthy and to grow as a community, then our trauma will just kind of sit in us and it'll fester, it will boil. And so it can be helpful, to do some I call it good old-fashioned trauma work, where you're letting go of the painful experience. And as you let go of that, as you embrace it with love, as you see it clearly what happened, as you work with forgiveness, whether forgiving yourself or forgiving the others, or work with empowerment, because sometimes we forgive the other, but it's also important that we leave the situation because it's abusive or it's not helpful or whatever it is. After we do, that practical work, I invite you to revisit the teaching, the teacher, the Sangha, and just to see what was good that was there. What was good? Kind of through the trauma therapy, oftentimes you become clear about what was bad, what was not helpful, is another way to put it. Like, this aspect of the teaching was not helpful, but this other aspect, maybe it was really helpful. And I encourage you to deepen in your relationship with that which was helpful. and to let go more fully the aspect of the teaching that was not helpful. And so I know a lot of people who grew up in the Christian tradition, and in their heart they have a great connection to Jesus, but they experience pain or confusion or trauma within their, say, Christian community, or within their relationship with their pastor, their spiritual teacher, their Bible study coordinator, their Dharma teacher, whatever it was, or the priest, And it may be very healthy to leave the community. It may be healthy to leave that teacher. But it may not be the truth to leave your relationship with Christ. It may not be healthy to leave your relationship with the Buddha or the Dharma. It may not be healthy to do that. It may not be helpful. Sometimes we throw the baby out with the bathwater. And so I just wanted to bring this up. There's one more aspect of trauma that happens as well. And it's more of an internal experience of trauma. Some people on the path have intense spiritual experiences. They're very, I'll just use this word, violent or dramatic awakening. And of course, I had one of those, and in regards to my kundalini awakening, and it was bizarre, it was confusing, it was complicated, it was messy, it was painful. But the thing that I had is I had total faith in God, that this was good, that it was a movement of truth, it was a movement of God's intelligence. And I saw it simply as a movement of evolution. Evolution can be painful, difficult, traumatic, confusing, bizarre, messy. But in the end, when we have faith that this is a movement of grace, we don't fight with it as much. But if we have a distorted sense of self, if we have an experience where we feel like less than or unworthy or I'm not good enough, oftentimes when we have a powerful spiritual experience and it's painful to any degree, many people will interpret that as God is trying to punish them or hurt them or make them pay for their sins, or some kind of guilt-based thing or shame-based thing or punishment-based thing. And of course, that's not the truth. The truth is we have souls and we are on an evolutionary journey. And evolution sometimes is quite difficult. Our whole planet is going through an incredible experience of evolution right now, where humankind is growing at such a degree that it's creating great pain and suffering for the rest of the species on planet Earth. We're creating great destruction. And if we don't all begin to wake up more consciously, with our relationship to our environment, we're going to cause, great confusion. It may be the end of us, maybe the end of many species on planet Earth. It's already happening. If we don't invite our heart to come forward, what's happened is our mind has grown very quick. Our relationship with technology has grown very quick. Our relationship with oil and motorized mechanisms has grown very quick. Our relationship with fire, like fire power, has grown very quick. But we need our relationship with our heart to grow quickly, to balance things out a little bit, And so, when we have an intense awakening experience, it's important to trust. It's important to have a relationship with God. By God, I mean the intelligence of the universe. If not, we can get into some really bizarre psychological states, thinking that God is punishing us, or we've done something wrong, or something bad has happened, or we screwed it up, or whatever it was. All trauma, all healing trauma requires that we get in touch with our heart, that we get in touch with compassion and forgiveness, We get in touch with clarity, and we get in touch with our innate intelligence and the intelligence of the universe. With the intelligence of the universe. Because when you're in touch with the intelligence of the universe, you know that there's another way. Another way. And it doesn't have to be so hard. It doesn't have to be so difficult, so confusing. And even if life is difficult, the same way pregnancy is difficult, when you're in touch with the intelligence of the universe, you know something great is coming, even though if we're currently experiencing pain. So, anyways, I thought I'd just speak about this a little bit because this just keeps coming up again and again and again in my emails. And I'm just going to make a quick note here about my emails. I'm very behind. So people keep, writing me, and the questions keep piling up, and I do apologize. I'll do my best to get to everyone's question the best I can. And some of you have reached out and asked for sessions and this and that, and please just email again if I didn't get back to you quickly. Just email me again. I've kind of getting lost in the busyness of it all, so I apologize. I just there's days, weeks when I can't keep up. So here's a quick question I have. Let's see what we have. This is from Kate. Hi, Craig. My questions are always about kundalini related because I am in hell. How do I know this ends? It feels tragic to be walking in the world of beauty and connection and simply moments of God in each breath, and to feel only trauma and terror and fear and dysregulation. I don't know what else I can do besides what I'm doing to heal. Does this just even out over time? Yes, it does. Or do I have to address every trauma because that could take lifetimes? That's true too. Love to you. I want badly to offer my big, beautiful heart and gifts to this world. Kate, you brought up some very interesting questions and some very interesting points. The last thing you said was quite beautiful. You said, I want to offer my big, beautiful heart to this world. If you are experiencing trauma, fear, pain, confusion, sadness, anxiety, you need to offer your big, beautiful heart to yourself. First and foremost. First and foremost, you need to offer your loving heart, the goodness of your heart, the innocence of your heart, the strength of your heart, the compassion of your heart to your human body and to your human psychological nature. So that's what your body's telling you. It's telling you, I need more love. So your focus doesn't need to be outward. Your focus needs to be inward. It needs to be inward. And let's speak about an inward focus, which is actually healing. In order for an inward focus to be healing, and if, say, for example, you are overwhelmed, which that's what you're describing in your letter, in your email, you have to have faith that it will end. You cannot tell yourself this is going to take lifetimes and it's not going to end. Trauma will not release from your body while you are simultaneously telling yourself you're never going to get better. It just won't. It's like if you imagine holding a child and the child screaming, and so you're holding the child and loving the child, but you're telling the child, hey, you're not getting better. You're not going to get better anytime soon. It's going to take lifetimes before you are better. That kid's going to look up to you and be like, what the hell? What the hell? Are you loving me, or are you telling me I'm not going to get better. And so I'm going to invite you not to believe any thoughts in your mind and simply love from a place of silence. Love from a place of silence. And this is a strange, it may sound like a strange concept, but let me tell you what I mean by this. I personally spent, a good year and a half of my life just in intense pain, curled up in the fetal position kind of pain, screaming terror in my mind kind of pain. And I just sat silently loving this body, breathing in and out, holding myself, loving myself. The thoughts would come and they would say, this has no end. This has gone on a long time. You're broke, you have no money, you can't work, you can't function. But I did my very best not to believe those thoughts, not to, get on the bus with them and go for a ride and say, yeah, that's right, I don't have any money. I am broke. I will never heal. To say those type of things while you're doing trauma therapy is to create this cycle. The Buddha called it the wheel of samsara. It's like we don't get off the wheel of samsara. So we have to let go of our thoughts and love ourselves silently. And by loving ourselves silently, I don't mean that we force our mind to shut up. But what I encourage you to do is to allow awareness to descend into your heart. And I know you, Kate, there's a goddess who lives in your heart. And her mind is clear, it's silent, it's loving, it's compassionate. And so I'm inviting you to get in touch with that silent place and to love the intensity, hold the intensity. The same way, you hold a screaming child. I can laugh a little. This weekend while we were camping in the woods, these big, beautiful mountains, and going out at night and seeing just the huge Milky Way galaxy above us, There was times when, there was lots of kids running around. Sometimes they'd fall down and get hurt or burn themselves in the fire, and there was some screaming. And what the moms did is, the moms didn't say, oh my God, my child's going to die. The mom just ran to the child, picked up the little boy or the little girl, whoever it was, and just rubbed their back while the kids screamed. And this is what we need to do. If you have intense trauma, if you're feeling overwhelmed by kundalini, just hold the child while she screams, while they scream. And you do it as long as it takes. You don't worry about time. A good mom, a good dad will love their child and not worry about how long the healing's going to take. They just love the kid. That's it. And so if it's for 5 minutes, for 5 hours, for 20 years, for 40 years, we hold that kid. And we love them until they stop crying. And they will. They will stop crying. The body will calm down. It will. And so if you're doing a lot of healing work, that's good. I did a lot of healing work. My body required a lot of healing work. Hell, to this day, it still requires a lot of healing work. A lot of healing work. A couple hours ago, I heard about yet another shooting in the United States. I sat there and I cried. And I felt the pain, and I released it. And I sent love to myself, to my mind, to the mind who doesn't understand why are we shooting each other. I sent love to the shooter and to the victims. This world It's not a joke. It's hard. It's difficult. You got to love yourself more deeply and fully. More deeply and fully. And so, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing, Kate. Okay, a couple more questions are popping up here. Let's see. This one's from Talik. Talik, I hope I pronounced your name properly. Hi, Craig. I want to know how I can best protect myself against ego inflation, arrogance after deeper shifts into clarity. I occasionally have deeper shifts. The next thing I know, I seem to be reconnecting and taking ownership of the understanding. Talik, it's all about humility. Humility. Can you get in touch with your innocence? The more you connect with your innocence, then arrogance just falls away. It simply falls away. It's just a basic math. Can you get in touch with tenderness, innocence, compassion for others? Can you think about others? Can you care about others? More so than whatever grand spiritual experience you've had or realization. Can we care about others? And this is how arrogance falls away. So we're just connecting to the heart. And be willing to love. Be willing to love. There's a question from Tina. The reason I'd like to work with you, Craig, is that I want to learn how to surrender more deeply. Surrender to pain more deeply, which I'm not bad at. But then she writes, but I'm a human person who doesn't love it. Of course you don't love it. None of us really love pain. And by that I mean none of us like pain. We're wired not to like it, of course. She wants to learn how to surrender to pain and to the unknown. One of the beautiful things that took me many years to realize is surrendering to pain really means just letting go of pain, letting it empty out of our body, letting it empty out of our nervous system. Most people think that when we surrender into something difficult, it's like similar to, say, surrendering to an abusive relationship, or, like giving your power or authority to someone who's going to abuse you, giving your power to a cult leader and then you'll be harmed, or, whatever it is. But when you surrender more deeply, pain immediately begins to release. And so I want you to imagine, Tina, that surrender is like, it's like we're pushing a wheelbarrow, just full of concrete up a hill. And surrendering is just choosing just to take that wheelbarrow and just push it over to the side, and just letting it all fall out. Letting the pain fall out of us. Surrendering is similar to just melting. What our human ego does is it tends to hold on to that which is traumatic or difficult, or we tend to hold on to anxiety, or we hold on to depression, we hold on to sadness or fear, we hold on to when someone harmed us. The reason we hold on to it is our mind likes to repeat the story of pain to remind us that, hey, that's painful, don't do that again, or don't be in relationship with them again, or we need to get the hell out of here, whatever it is. And so our mind tends to hold on to pain and just repeat the story of pain over and over again. And so I invite you to let go of those thoughts. Don't believe them. Can you take the backward step and notice that there is something here that is awake and aware, that's witnessing the pain, witnessing the thoughts about pain? So much of pain, so much of the experience of pain is constructed of thoughts about pain. When you let go of thoughts about pain, like this is going to go on forever, it's never going to end, this is too much, I can't handle it, and just experience pain directly, oftentimes pain is like an ocean wave. It just washes over you. It may knock you down, but then it washes over. It releases. Again, this took me many years to realize that if I let the pain just wash over me, it will empty out of me. Empty out of me. Your ego will teach you something different. Your ego will tell you, hold on to the pain so you don't repeat it. So you don't repeat it. And if you want to be awake, and live in the truth of your being, you have to let go of your pain. You have to let go of your trauma. If you hold on to your trauma, to the extent that you hold on to your trauma is to the extent that you veil your own consciousness. So if we hold on to, say like with the example of say kundalini or an intense spiritual awakening, or the experience of like holding on to angst about, how once upon a time our pastor said something really mean to us or manipulative. When we hold on to those experiences after they've passed and just continually repeat that in our mind, we are literally veiling our consciousness in real time. We're veiling our truth, our innocence, our freedom, our compassion, our beauty. You're veiling, say with the example of like if you had a traumatic experience with a spiritual teacher and you hold on to that, and then you stop, you veil yourself with that experience, and you stop trusting God, you stop trusting life. You put a veil between you and God, between you and the truth. The truth is a human being hurt you, and God loves you. We'll say kundalini awakening or a powerful spiritual awakening. The truth is God loves you so much that something powerful is awakening within you, is being born in you, literally. Like you are one of the chosen ones, literally. God is waking up in you as you. And we veil that truth and that expansion of consciousness when we say, this is not good, this is too much, I hate kundalini, I hate this energy. And it may be true, like Tina's writing, that you don't enjoy pain, of course. Most of us did not enjoy puberty or adolescence, but we're really happy we went through it. We're really happy we went through it. Most of us, for the women in the room who've been pregnant, those women didn't have an incredibly beautiful, easygoing, gentle pregnancy and birth. It was probably really difficult. But they're very happy they went through it. And we want to have this type of attitude. Okay, let's see what else is popping up here. Let's see. Just want to say hello to everyone who's kind of popped in the room. I see some new faces and some old ones. So hello to y'all. It's nice to be here with you. I just want to acknowledge that a lot of people say hi to me in the chat. And so I just want to acknowledge you all. Okay, so here's a question. Hi, Craig. I would like to get some more info or clarification on the no self experience. I've started intermittently feeling as if having no center within. To do heart-based awareness, I have to perceive from the heart, and I have to put awareness there, or contract to perceive from the heart, which feels like an effort. The only thing I can naturally do is outward facing. My thoughts, my body, the outside world are seen as simple reality. So you're seeing what is. The body feels at ease, and I actually sense and feel everything around me in a more connected way. Sometimes I do feel as I could be better in some aspects of life, but even that feeling passes away too, as I can't grasp that too. My question is, Craig, can there be any learning? For example, I do get angry, and sometimes I talk in a loud voice and hurt others. But even this thought of I should try to be calm just comes and goes. I'm losing the ability to grasp onto analyzing myself inside. Is there any hope for changing? Okay, so this question it's really deep, and it's about a very specific experience. So throughout the spiritual path, there are many absolute perspectives, and let me say what I mean by this. There is the experience of absolute transcendence, and when one is experiencing absolute transcendence, it will feel incredible. It will feel like home. It will feel complete. It will feel total. It feels as if, you are in a sense above all of life. Above all of life. Like you are awake and the rest of the world is asleep, or that it's a dream. A different level of absolute experience is, say, when the heart wakes up and you feel just immense love and unity with all of life. And that's another way that your experience can manifest in an absolute way. The experience of no self it's something that's really misunderstood. And it's very quite confusing. And to be honest, I don't like to speak about it too often, because often when I speak about it, people just get confused and think they should be there. Or they go grasping after that experience. So the experience of no self, it begins to happen as the gut awakens, like the hara, and as we let go of fear. We let go of fear. It's also something that arises as we embrace or open to anger. Open to anger. And the reason this is because the experience of anger oftentimes is one of those human experiences that spiritual people do not want to admit, do not want to acknowledge, do not want to face. Because the last thing a spiritual person wants to admit is, I'm angry, I have anger within me, I have violence within me. And I have the ability to harm others. And so the fact, my friend, that you're willing to admit this is a good thing. That you're willing to admit that there's anger here, that's a good thing. The confusing thing, in your question is, and within the experience of no self is as self falls away, your ability to analyze your own self, to self-reflect, that also falls away. And so that gets really weird. Because in a sense, when we get to the final stages of no self, you just feel as if you are life. Life is just living. Just living. But there's not a person here. But of course there is a person here. Because the absolute and the relative exist simultaneously. And so, my friend, the big thing that I'm going to just invite you to do is just to have some compassion for yourself. Compassion for the anger. And I would encourage you to invoke compassion more so than you try to push yourself into the experience of no self. When an individual goes into the experience of no self prematurely, we can actually become somewhat dangerous because we lose the ability to witness our own actions, to self-reflect. The beautiful thing is, because the absolute experience and the relative experience are so intimately intertwined, life will never let you get away with it. Life will never let us sit in simply the absolute experience of anything for very long. If you just rest in the transcendent sense of self, or you think that you are above all of life, oftentimes your ego will come forward, a shadow will come forward, an old relationship will come forward, a new relationship will come forward, that will bring you into direct contact with a practical everyday reality. And so what's happening, my friend, is your anger is coming forward and it's telling you it wants your attention. Any experience of the absolute consciousness, it must have love in it, must have spaciousness, must have truth, must have freedom, must have compassion for it to be complete. And so your life is telling you, your body's telling you that there's something here that needs to be addressed. There's something here that needs to be addressed. The experience of no self is the experience of the Buddha. And if any of us know the Buddha directly, you know that he had an incredible heart. He has an incredible heart, an incredible compassion. And so if we start to step into spiritual states of being and compassion is lacking, that means there's something wrong here. Not something bad. It doesn't mean you've done something wrong. It just means there's something wrong. It means something needs our attention. And you've written me numerous emails this week, and I apologize again that I couldn't get to them all. But your question, my feeling is you need some greater support. You need some one-on-one work to help navigate these experiences that are happening within your consciousness. Because these are very advanced things that are happening within you. And without, direction, we can kind of spin out in here and get ourselves in a lot of trouble. With some more intimate one-on-one direction, with the teacher, whether it's me or someone else you trust, you could probably progress pretty quickly through this process. Without instruction, things can probably get a little bit messy or spin out of control. We can fall into the I got it, I lost it thing, or we can stagnate somewhere along the way. One of the things that needs to happen first, for us to truly experience no self, is much of our human self has to be cleared out. And if anger is present, that anger is going to be an obstacle. Whether you're in the transcendent experience, the unity experience, or in the no self experience, head, heart, gut, awakening, wherever you are in that process, if there's an intense emotion that's here, your practical waking reality experience of your human self is telling you, hey, there's something here that needs to be worked out. I know you've written me many times saying you're a student of Adyashanti, and the reason Adya is able to wake up and stay rooted in an abiding sense of awakening is he doesn't have a lot of psychological disorders or intense heavy emotions that are clogging up his inner psychological nature. And because of that, when he woke up to say the experience of no self, that can stick more fully and take root in his consciousness. And that's true for all of us. So say, like I was speaking about in the question before, when someone is having a kundalini awakening, for example, and if there's a lot of trauma in their body, PTSD or, heartache or despair, we don't feel really rooted and grounded and solid, we can have a powerful spiritual experience. And yet that experience will have trouble taking root because, basically our chakras are clogged. The experience of our humanity is clogged up with heavy emotions. And so there's something here that basically needs to be loved, experienced. The funny thing about anger, I say this often, I love anger because what anger is one of the great gates to non-dual awakening. And let me explain why. When you start to embrace anger fully, when you allow the anger to empty out of you, when you work with the forgiveness and the letting go and the empowerment, like all the healthy egoic stuff, but you continue to let that energy flow through your consciousness, what the experience of anger does is it explodes your consciousness like a volcano. And you realize how huge you are, how huge, how powerful you are, how divine, how holy, how holy. You see that what you are is huge and is immense. So when you step into the experience of no self, the experience is immense. And it's radically inclusive of everything, all energy. It's inclusive of all of life. The experience of no self, it's nirvana. It's pregnant with all phenomena. And to be pregnant with all phenomena is to be big. And anger is one of those great doorways of helping you begin to open to your bigness. Now, anger, simply as it flows purely through ego, then what happens is we raise our voice, we yell at someone, we cause harm. Anger, as it flows through the central channel and through the experience of our non-dual self, transforms very quickly into the direct experience of immensity. And that's different than yelling at someone who doesn't need to be yelled at. Then we start to feel divine. We feel as if we are the power of evolution, the power of life, the power of all creation. And it's just incredible to step into this because it doesn't feel like you, the small little human individual, is that. It feels like life is you. If we're going to be good Buddhists, we'd say, what isness is me. But I don't like that terminology, what isness. Like life is me. Like I and life are one. And it even sounds silly to say that because at that point, it doesn't even feel like there's a me here. It just feels like life is here. When I was camping, a couple hours ago, just out in nature, and just walking around, it just feels as if nature is happening. the experience of myself is the experience of nature. Huge mountains, vast blue sky, Milky Way, streams flowing, evolution happening, destruction happening, all of it as this vast non-personal movement. And so anyways, my friend, that's the best I can do in this moment. I encourage you to speak directly with the teacher you trust and you care about so you can get greater clarity. Because one of the things that happens in some of these, whether we're at a really high state of consciousness or expanded state or advanced state or mature state, or at the very beginning state of the path, it's helpful to have some support, some clarity, so that we're not just spinning around in cul-de-sacs. What I've found more often on the path is that people overestimate how far they've progressed on the path. I did that as well, by the way, so don't anyone take that personally. It's a common thing. We start having big experiences and then we think, I know the truth. But the big experience is just the doorway. It's not, till normally a couple of years after that, that we've actually integrated it, that we're living the truth of that. And so I appreciate you all. I appreciate your honesty, your openness, your willingness to share yourselves with me fully. It's been my absolute pleasure to be here this evening with you all. And if I missed any of your questions, please forgive me. Just email them to me again, please. If you emailed me about a session or something and I didn't get back to you quickly, email me again, please. I'm just really behind. And if anyone wants to make a donation to support this song or this community and to continue to help these broadcasts to be shared, please do so. Please go to craigholliday.com, and those are deeply appreciated. So thank you all so much. May peace be with you. And yes, have a wonderful, wonderful evening. My heart's with you.